Hello, are you feeling stuck in front of a blank page? Well, let's turn that fear into fun. In this video, we are going to explore how to adorn your sketchbook with beautiful shades of gold and bronze. All right, so I am washi taping up my sketchbook. I have gathered all of the paints that I could find that are in golds, and then I chose like an orange and a red orange also. I'm going to use my number 8 flat Princeton brush. It's going to make it easy to create squares and rectangles. I'm going to start with this Amsterdam ink. I'm starting with it rather than the watercolor because I want it to be underneath everything. And I actually want to put a wash of watercolor on top of some of these. So I'm just dipping into the ink, or I'm, kind of spurting out ink onto my brush. I don't have an intermediate vessel just because it's one more thing to clean. Like, I don't want to put it in a little dish or a cup or anything. I'll just put it directly on my brush because I'm not mixing it with anything. So I'm going to arbitrarily just start choosing areas of the page to put down some shapes. I'm going to put down about 5 shapes per page of this color in various shapes. Shapes in various shapes. Yes, you heard it here. But I'm going to continue on and just kind of, I don't want to put it regularly on the page because I want my eye to move around in an unpredictable way. So I am not going to make it spaced equally apart. I'm kind of adding them wherever I feel like there's a big, wide expanse of white. And then odd numbers are great. They keep your brain guessing. And so I have decided to put 5 on each page. And I think that looks pretty good for this color. So I'm going to move on to the next color, which is going to be this lemon yellow in a watercolor. And the reason I'm choosing this one is because it is the lightest and brightest color I'm going to use. And I just want to put one area on each page with this pop of yellow. So you see I've actually got it pretty wet and just dragging the brush around until I'm satisfied that I've got the paint where I want it. And that's it on that page. So I'm going to do the same on the other. So I'm going to go down to this bottom left corner where I feel like there's a lot of white happening and just add another square. Again, that flat brush is helping me out to create the edges of the squares and the rectangles. Okay, on to the next shape. We're going to start using these Kuretake Starry colors, this set of 6 that I got, and I'm just going to work my way from left to right across the palette. You can see how transparent the pigment is, and it's different colors depending on, the angle of the light reflecting on all the little pieces inside the paint. So I'm just going to arbitrarily, again, choose random areas, and I'm going to start overlapping, as you see, some of the shapes that I've already put down. So bottom left or middle left, I'm going to do this long rectangle here, kind of overlapping some of that Amsterdam ink that we put down to begin with. And you can appreciate both on the left page and the right page that using that Amsterdam ink first and then putting the watercolor on top of it, you can still see the ink underneath it, which just creates this wonderful layering effect. So, all right, so 1, 2, here is a third, 4th shape of this color, 2 on the right, 2 on the left, and I think I'll add 1 more down here on the right page. So 5 total. Just keeping my eye moving around. I do love a two-page spread because of this. So I do try to play off of both pages as well as one page individually, because I do want both of them to be able to stand on their own. All right, so I've moved on to the second color in this Starry Night series. That first little square I did had a lot of pigment on it, so I moved on to a second shape, and I'm going to just slowly lift off the paint to the thickness that I want. I don't have to go reload my brush in the well of paint. I just get to reload my brush on the little square that had too much paint on it. So I've got 3 on the left page, and now I'm going to work my way to the right and add 2 big rectangles of this bronzy orangey color. Okay, those aren't too big, but they are two squares of that color. Okay, now I'm going to move on to this burnt orange color, which is just another pop of color. You can see here I'm putting it on top of that Amsterdam ink again, and it's starting to marble and show through underneath. I'm choosing other areas that are totally on top. I chose other areas that are totally on top of other shapes, some that are hanging off. I've got 3 of those orange guys on the left. I'll put at least a couple over here on the right. And I like that I've overlapped that lemon yellow. Come back to that one because, you know, the paint's shifting because of the resistant quality of the ink underneath it. Okay, so I still had paint on my brush. Fill in this one on the right. So I've got 3 orangey ones on the left, 2 on the right. And I'm going to keep moving down my palette of starry colors. All right, get this one overlapping. This is a very transparent color also, but wow, does it have some reflective qualities to it. Put a big square here in the middle. Another one up here, just because I'm feeling there's a lot of white up there. And down here on the bottom right. Okay, square over here. And let's see, maybe right here. Again, overlapping that lemon yellow. That looks lovely. And then I see this big piece of white right there, so I'm just going to fill it in with the square. I think that's great. Okay, I still have a few more colors to go. Pick this one now. This is more of a champagne kind of color. I'm going to put big blocks, and you'll see how quickly I'm working. I know I have the video sped up. However, when you're painting on top of watercolor that's already there, you don't want to reactivate the watercolor that's underneath it. So I will rapidly drag my brush across these areas, and I won't press down very hard. And that way the paint underneath the layer that I'm painting won't shift as much. Okay, so, and it helps too to use, you know, liquidy paint. You see I have quite a bit of water in the well of my paint. Fill in this corner. Yeah, that's looking nice. See how I pull it down rapidly and try to even it out. All right, rinse my brush, on to the next color. This is also a champagne-y color, but it's got a yellow hint to it. It is very transparent. Isn't that beautiful? Just pulling the color quickly, definitely overlapping a lot on these ones that are super transparent and light. This one's very pearlescent. Okay, and finally this last whiter color, really overlapping, quickly pulling the color. And how about here? Yeah, there's a lot of white right there, so I'm going to pull it all the way to the edge. These larger shapes really can take the lighter colors. It pushes them in the background, recesses them a lot more. Okay, so now I think I'm going to add a pop of this reddy orange for interest, and I'm going to make them small. I'm going to make like three squares on each side, and I think that will be plenty. And I'm going to do it kind of in a zigzaggy pattern, or a pattern that's not regular, to keep my eye moving around the page. trying to catch these pops of color. So I've got the one yellow square on each side, and then I'm going to have 3 of these red guys on each side. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, so maybe right here on top of this pearl one, I had a lot of ink on there, or a lot of pigment on there, so I moved on to the second shape, and now I can come back to this first one after some of the pigment is off of my paintbrush, and then finally move on to the third on this right-hand page. And isn't that lovely? I've got an overall eye movement from left to right, top to bottom, keeps my eye moving around. I'm going to grab this other bronzy kind of color of the watercolor and put a few more blocks, a little darker blocks. So I've worked my way from brightest to lightest, and then starting to fill in the darker colors too. Okay, down here, see how it's kind of light down there? So I'm going to pull this down into that pearlescent color. Drag it across, keeping it transparent. Yeah, that's nice. Let's do the other page. And I like pulling the shapes off of the page because it makes your brain think, oh, there's more to it. There's more off the page. There's another story off to the left or to the right or up or down. So I really do enjoy, again, the washi tape. It allows you to paint to the edge, and then your imagination can keep the rest of the painting going. And maybe one more down here. It's kind of white down there. Let's pull that down. Right. Up here on top of the yellow. I like that. And down at the bottom somewhere. Yeah. Again, you can see through this color. You can tell there are other squares underneath it. That's wonderful. Okay, so now I'm going to use this final color, and this is an acrylic paint by Golden. It's iridescent bronze. Great, great color. And I am going to use this because it's opaque. So just like I started with an opaque color of the Amsterdam ink, I'm going to end with an acrylic opaque paint and just fill in a few of these longer lines here or there. As you notice, I'm pulling more of the darker colors. They're keeping more on the bottom half of these 2 pages and to the left, which I like. It also makes movement, again, something for your eye to look to as it tries to match colors. We'll square up here. It's nice. I love how the light reflects so differently off of these things. Okay, so now I'm going to start filling in the background. And what I'm doing is just making a very wet wash of my yellow ochre and starting to fill in between the shapes that I've already made. I'm going to keep it pretty liquidy, and I'm going to use my rag to kind of blot here or there just to make undulations of pigment thicker and lighter in different areas. I'm going to drop water into it for the same effect. If you drop water onto a wash, it's just going to get lighter in that area, so I can use that to my advantage and then blot it. You'll see I'm adding a little bit of the dark brown. I'm also going to end up adding some of that reddish orange also. So as I complete the second page, I just want to call your attention to, I love doing 2 pages because I just get better and better the more I repeat something. So having 2 pages actually gives myself a chance to hone my skills and develop the techniques that I discovered in the first half. So here I'm adding a little bit of that red orange that I talked about, and I think it does it well. I think it builds some depth. I like how all the colors are kind of playing off of each other. The yellow pops out. The 3 pops of red orange pops out on each side. It's quite lovely. And just a little bit more brown to add some depth. And then some water. So I'm going to smush all that out, and then I'm going to start grabbing some extra water on my brush just to kind of feather the edges of some of these colors a little bit. Because it is watercolor, it can reactivate if it gets a lot of water on it. So I think that looks great. So I'm going to begin peeling away our washi tape so that we can get satisfied from all of the work that we just did. I think the colors play well off of each other. It keeps your eye moving around. I always pull my washi tape off at an angle so it doesn't tear the paper underneath it. And just take your time. Yeah, that's nice. So these will be really great backgrounds for any of your art. So I'm a big fan, again, of making lots of backgrounds in your sketchbook so that when you get motivation, you already have something set that you can just pop an image on top of and go to town. Look how this is. This is really standing out. Those pops of orange and red. I hope you have enjoyed this along with me. I also want to show you an example of one that I've made before in golds and greens and show you the possibilities of what the next steps might be. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm Jules, and this is my Art Bender.